Suhit, nice to have you. So, just to start things off, you sold your company just like a month ago for a couple million. I would like to know, what was the feeling when that money hit your account?
Yeah, it was. I was pretty much sitting eating lunch at the time, and I was refreshing my bank account because I've got this bank that doesn't notify you when money lands. I don't know why, and it was a weird feeling because the money was actually delayed. Like, we finished the deal the day before, and then they sent the money, and like no one knew where it went. Like they were worried that like it just got lost somewhere.
Not even they sent like a test.
They sent a test, so they sent a test and it arrived instantly, and then they sent the full value, and then like their bank had to phone their bank and get it approved a bunch of times. But then once they approved it, my bank were like, yeah, we don't see it. So it was a bit like nerve wracking. But then all of a sudden I was scrolling, my phone, refresh, and then I saw them, and I literally jumped back like this in my seat, like whilst I was eating lunch, and it was just like pretty crazy to see, multiple millions in my personal bank account. Like, I've never seen that much money in a single like line item in my personal account before. And then like I phoned my parents immediately and like showed them and started talking to them, and it was a pretty crazy high. But it was very weird. Like, literally the day after, I felt no emotion about it anymore. It was a very weird feeling. Like, I'd spoken to a few people who sold their businesses and like the sort of euphoria is going to pass very quickly. I just assumed that, wow, I've got all this money now, I'm gonna think like very differently. But yeah, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, I barely I went into my bank account today to pay someone for something, and like I saw it and I didn't even like double take of like, oh, I have this much money. I think it's like your brain just being an entrepreneur and training yourself, obviously you train yourself to like not be too emotional in either direction. So I think naturally over time I've just trained myself to like not get too excited about the really crazy and exciting things, and also not get too sad about the things that don't happen well, because otherwise you end up either in a state of complacency or in a state of like depression. So yeah, it was crazy for the first like day for sure. Like just to be like, wow, like I've achieved this.
A lot of people feel like, obviously it's a lot of money at once, but they feel broke, if that makes sense. Like, because there's no cash flow coming in again. Like, what's that?
Have you experienced that?
Not really, because like my life honestly isn't that expensive, to be honest. Like I went through that phase of having a pretty expensive life and doing the same like travel stuff that everyone does, but I quite like a simple life these days. So I don't really have that much cost. Like I'll travel, but I don't like to stay in like that expensive places. I'll get like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment just with my girlfriend. We don't like spend that much money. And with the way the deal is, so I'm still with the business that bought me for a little bit, so I get paid by them a salary, but I also have like other like side income that I was got my YouTube and I monetized a few other things, so all of that's still there. I wasn't really spending much of the business's money anyway, so it doesn't really feel that much different, but I know exactly what you mean in terms of you go from, if it's someone who's just earning that, you go from making all that cash flow to then just having a single balance and then there's nothing else coming in. It is a bit weird. But yeah, for me it's not that much different because the cash flow that I was earning is from kind of different sources.
I would love to get into what the business is that you sold, if you don't mind us doing that. It's info marketing?
It's influencer marketing. Marketing. I basically launched this agency 7.5 years ago as a talent management company for YouTubers at the time. So I was managing gaming YouTubers and gaming Twitch streamers, and basically all I did at the beginning was I helped them get brand deals and sponsorships. So those annoying like 60-second ads that you see in the YouTubers videos, that's pretty much what we do, right? Over time we pivoted the business model into more of a agency for brands. So we still managed content creators, we still helped them with their brand deals and their partnerships, but it was more running campaigns for clients with influencers as like the marketing channel. So if you think about like, running paid ads on Facebook, essentially our influencers are the Facebook ads, right? So they're the media channel, and we would help brands come up with a strategy, come up with the creative activation they're gonna do, source the influencers to run the content on, help them produce the content, get the content live on content creators channels, and then do all the payments, reporting, analysis, and essentially help brands achieve a business outcome from the budget they invest. So some of our clients may say, right, we want to spend $100,000, we want to get this many views. Some clients may spend $50K and then get this many downloads, conversions, whatever it might be. We mainly did the gaming, tech, entertainment, SaaS and fintech spaces, and worked a lot with like big tech companies. So like Asus and Acer, the two computer brands, they were clients of ours. Ubisoft, which is a very big game publisher. We did a bit of work with Netflix, and then worked with a lot of the biggest gaming and entertainment creators around the world.
And then do you run those, essentially the content or the ads on the influencers page, or is that like a separate ad?
Yeah, so it runs the influencers on the influencers page. So it would be posted organically on the content creators page, but then also we may like run ads through the creators page as well. So essentially the ad would come from the creators profile, but most of it's organic through their channels.
That's so cool. And how did you guys incentivize the influencer? Was it with like a referral that they?
So most of the influencer deals are done on flat fees. So you'd pay them. So you'd pay them, say like creators getting this many views on average. You pay them like $5,000, $10,000, whatever. There's various different pricing structures. So flat fees is the most common, just because creators now are very high in demand. They want obviously most people want flat. Most of these creators want flat fees.
What do they want commission though? So
most creators are a bit short-sighted. To be fair, it depends which niche. In the gaming space, most of them and the entertainment space are just flat fees because it's like a guaranteed sum that they know they're getting. With commission, it's like they only know some risk. The business and SaaS and tech creators, they get it right because they're much more forward thinking. They understand the value of long-term, ongoing like earnings and revenue. So every time we work with like business creators and SaaS creators, we mostly do hybrid deals. So it's a small flat fee just to kind of cover costs, and then it's a lot of commission and high commission or revenue share. Gaming, entertainment, beauty, lifestyle, all these creators, it's just brand deal onto the next, flat fee onto the next. So there's a lot of price structures. Flat fee is the most common. Then you have like CPM based structures where it's like you pay per 1,000 views. So creator gets like 500,000 views, you pay them say $10 per 1,000 views, and it's on a view based model. Others are commission or revenue share. Others are sometimes hybrid. And then more and more creators at a bigger scale are now doing like your equity partnerships. So they'll like get ownership in a company and promote the company, and obviously, they get benefits from dividends and also the eventual exit of that business.
Okay, and I just want to take it back a bit. So, did you start this business at 13, or this is when you started?
So I started business in general at 13. This business I started was when I was 17 actually. So I was kind of doing I was basically just volunteering and learning the influencer and YouTube space for those 4 years, and then I launched this business in 17.
Well, what kind of got you into business at 13? I guess it was just 10 years ago when it's not as popular anymore.
Yeah. Obviously now, every 13-year-old wants to do online business. I see all those short form reels of I'm becoming a millionaire at 13 years old. Living the life of a 13-year-old on with. Yeah, I love those videos. They're hilarious. What got me started was I was trying to be a YouTuber basically. So a bunch of my friends, we all used to play games basically, and some of us were like, oh, let's just start putting content on YouTube and seeing if we can, become a gaming YouTuber. So it was through that where I initially tried to be a YouTuber, and then I met a bunch of these guys online that I just through gaming, and then one guy one day came to the friend group and was like, oh, I found out about this business model that we can essentially, instead of being YouTubers ourselves, we partner with YouTubers and we help them make money. So that was very interesting to me because it was I'd never really able to get any YouTube channel off the ground. My biggest YouTube channel got to 37,000 subscribers, which is pretty good for the age I was, and we had a few videos that did 1 million views, but it wasn't enough to really sustain or build a career out of the time. And I just didn't think I had it in me to be an entertainer at that point. Didn't have any tech or equipment, and you didn't really need that back then, but just didn't really have it. And this was very interesting to me because it was a way that I could still stay working with YouTubers and stay in the industry, but not make the content myself. So I was like, right, let me get into this space and learn this. So I basically just joined this guy's business. He launched the company. I was like, I'll just come and help you out with it. And we just kind of worked it out with a group of friends of how this type of stuff worked. And then through that, just naturally got exposed to bigger YouTube-based businesses. I started volunteering through them. I literally just worked multiple different volunteer jobs for the first 3 years just to literally soak up experience and learn how this industry worked.
Oh wow, the volunteer, I like that. It's so cool.
I made £2,000 in 3 years. Really? In my first 3 years, 2,000 GB, which is not you can't even live off of that in a month in the UK.
And so, why did you continue doing the volunteer work for that? You didn't make any money, right? What was the main motivator? Were you curious to learn a lot about the industry? Was that the thing moving you forward?
It was I didn't really see it as work. I was just more of I just really enjoyed doing this stuff. and I was so young to the point where it was just more of a hobby at the time. I come back from school, do my homework, and then I'm gonna be like online with these guys. And let me just learn and work. But I was also very interested to learn because for me, like, and what I always tell other people who are younger than me is like, oh, should I drop out? Should I do uni? What this? I always say like that 3 years of like just getting experience has been so valuable. Like obviously, I started my business at 17 and we saw pretty big success and I sold it, but I wouldn't have been able to have the success without just not going through those 3 years and not making any money and just learning and getting that experience. So it was a lot of that, just learn, get experience. Eventually I'll make money. Did I need money when I was 13 to 16? No, like I've come from a very, privileged background. I've got 2 parents who are doctors, never had any issues, and I didn't need to make money at that point. So it was just more about getting that knowledge to ultimately pay long term.
I really like that because a lot of people, especially in the beginning with starting their business, tends to frown upon, not essentially free trials, but like to a large degree, like you did that to get exposure to the market, right? Now you know what their pain points are like, and what does the market really need, and then you could have built a product around that, right? Like that is so valuable, and yet you didn't really get financial like compensation in that time, right? Which is a beautiful thing, and I really like that you followed your passion and curiosity in the beginning, and then you built a product out of that later down the line, which is amazing.
Yeah, because I think that if you do it that way, you'll generally not stop. Like if you're building something that you're genuinely interested and passionate about, a great example. I've got a friend who's got a small podcast back home in Scotland, and he still works his main full-time job. This podcast isn't enough to go full-time, but he just loves it, right? And he has so many people that have just given up because they can't monetize it. But if you truly love what you're doing, you will just continue on with it, and you'll find a way to make it work eventually. If you're doing something that you're not interested in, not passionate about, you hate, you're more likely to stop before you get there. And I think that the main thing for success is just enough consistency over time. Really, it's just doing something for long enough to get in the groove of things. Like there's so many people that stop and start different business models. Like they'll try it for a month and they don't make any money, but you don't actually get the momentum. I didn't see momentum I went at something for 3 years. Maybe I wouldn't recommend going something for 3 years, but I went at it for 3 years and then I saw success after a significant period of time.
So just when you said that, Scott Galloway?
Yeah.
So he's got this formula for wealth, which is focus plus, and then in brackets, stoicism times time times diversification.
Yeah. And
when I saw that, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I think to get rich, it's almost the same formula. It's rich equals focus plus, and then in brackets, stoicism times time.
Yeah.
I think that's basically it. Because diversification comes a bit later.
Yeah.
You had the focus.
I tried to diversify too early, and I actually found it to be negative to me because I had like split focus.
Exactly.
And I think split focus is way more dangerous when you're first starting up because you distribute your time across 5-6 different things. You can never really get one to mean something. And I actually ran 2022, 2023, 5 businesses at once. I was doing my agency, I had a separate agency with other people, I had a property company, I had an info product business, I had a community, and like my main business, which I just sold, like it just plateaued for a bit because I was focused on so many different things. So I think once you get to that point where you get rich, then you can diversify and multiply what you're doing.
That is something that everybody experiences, right? Like even Alex Mosey speaks about in the beginning of his also business, right? And I mean, we experience that as well. It's like we as entrepreneurs, we don't like leaving money on the table, right? We're very business oriented. So we see opportunity, we're like this is so, and you almost have that. It's not necessarily the entire, what's that 4-step thing? It's like it's not necessarily that, but it's the delusional optimism. And then it's like, you don't really, but you see the guy doing drop shipping and it's like, okay, like this looks good. And then it's uninformed optimism. And then after about 2 months, then it becomes informed pessimism. Then it's like, okay, it's not that easy. You say, oh wait, my friend's doing crypto. This is cool. Let's do that. And so, the question needs to become like, you will always leave money on the table, right? But the question is, are you leaving that batch of money on the table for a potential bigger stack on the one table that you're focusing on, right? Which should potentially be just the one business. So, I think we all go through that. Question I want to ask you is, if you're looking at someone sort of trying to figure out what business they need to pivot in or what niche they need to pick, would you recommend them, like what would you recommend they should look at? Like should they follow the curiosity, something they're interested in? what would be one thing you would...
Or as well, like, just like the market and not really care about curiosity, like which industry is growing, should I go there? What's like your take?
I think it depends on your timing in life to begin with, because I've given different advice on this over the years, and I've kind of based on what I thought. But I think I think your timing is very important. I think if you're young and you're at the point where you don't necessarily need to be making money super quickly, and it's more about I want to build around something that I'm interested in and do this for a sustained period of time, I think you should follow your passion and curiosity. I think if you're in a situation where you need to be looking at getting wealth quicker, let's say you're older, maybe you decide, right, I'm not going to follow this path anymore, I'm now going to go all in on myself. I think at that point, that's when you should be focusing on the market. I think you shouldn't obviously delve too far into your curiosity if there's no market for it, but you're never going to find that out unless you go down that path, right, and validate potentially what you're building, validate the product. But of course, like if you follow something that you're not interested in just because the market says it's great, you're probably not going to find success in it. So I think the timing in your life changes my opinion or my advice. But for me, like just in my stage right now, as I'm young, I think because there are so many ways to make money in life that if you go down your path of curiosity and it doesn't work, it's not the end of the road for you anyway. Like you can just take a step back and then look at where the market's going, and then jump into something that is trending or something that is growing. Like I recommend people to get into influencer marketing right now, and that's part of the stuff I do on my YouTube channel purely because the market is going that way. But I also recommend it because it's a very cool industry to be in. Like people, and they want to work with the people they watch, right? So you kind of get the both in a sense with the industry.
That's exactly what we're doing as well. We work with creators also.
Yeah, and it's a cool thing to do. It's like, yes, it's like the market is going that way, and you're building with content, you're building with creators who can start monetizing, and we're building that creator economy, which is rapidly growing. But it's also something that people are very curious about, like how do creators make money,
want to get into.
So it's a great business model. I'm not like saying I want to start an influencer marketing agency, but it's those type of things where potentially you get a bit of both, where there is a lot of and I think AI is another great example of that, where the market is going that way, but also it's something that people are very curious about understanding, and there's so many different applications that you can take it, like you can
integrate
every part of the process, right? So there are different areas that do cover both, in my opinion.
How did you go about getting in contact with, for example, Netflix? Like, how did you?
Or even the influencers.
Well, in that beginning process, because obviously if you get one or two, like then it's sort of like snowballs. That first couple, how did you do that?
Yeah, definitely it's the domino effect for sure. In the early stages, I was quite lucky so prior to starting my agency, I had this. So my first ever full-time job. So I did the 3 years of making no money. Then in 2018, in January, I got a job at this company called ESL, which is the world's biggest esports company. Okay. And I was hired to work in their influencer marketing division and work with content creators. So I built a lot of network from them, and I was managing a few creators at that business. And then when I started my own, they kind of came across with me. So I had this little foundation and base. For me, actually, interestingly, the early stages, where we've got the most creator connection was Twitter. Now I would never really recommend people to go through Twitter because the DMs and the system, they're spam. But early stages for my industry, gaming and tech, cold DMing creators on Twitter was a very good place to go. Generally, the way that I'd always do it was, if I saw that creators that I knew in my network were mutual following and friends with others, I would incentivize them to connect me with the creator friend. I would say, if we do a deal, I'll give you a kickback or something along those lines. And then over time, just kind of built a network out from there. Now, honestly, it's, in my opinion, quite easy to get in touch with creators if you have a good enough value proposition for them. And in most cases, the way that we do things is the value proposition is we have a big brand that wants to sponsor you and pay you money. And most creators, it's pretty much the fundamental of it is, I have this big company that wants to give you money, and most creators, like nowadays, obviously, all the creators are trying to monetize. They're trying to turn it into a career. So in most cases, they are very open to responding. There's obviously your, high ticket, very large content creators that are very hard to get in touch with. You have to go through mutual connections and they work with people who trust them. But that's just about the network expansion, and the same way that I would do it is just the way that I do it nowadays. For a lot of our clients who want to work with business creators is because I'm in this online space, I'll ask a friend. So there's Jordan Platten is a great example actually. I asked a client if I wanted to work with him, I asked a friend who knew him, can you reach out to Jordan, let him know that we've got this client wants to work with him, if he's interested, put us in touch. And that's the way that we build that network. With other creators, it's literally just, we have this brand who's interested in working with you, here's the logos we're interested in, are you interested? They want to, we wouldn't say, they want to pay, but it's that essentially that way of doing things. And because the brand deal ecosystem is very mature now, you get a very high response rate, and then you just add these creators into your network, and then you just continually reach out to them for opportunities, and you build the relationship from there. In terms of brands, in the early stages, we had a lot of brands come inbound to us because I managed these few creators, and the benefit of managing content creators is that you essentially get all of their inbound opportunities. So we manage all their inboxes and their emails.
Oh.
So brands are reaching out directly to them. We would do a brand deal with that creator. Then we would say upsell our other creators and pitch them as well. And then we were able to get those brands inbound and then try and upsell them to a more agency related service. Nowadays, it's a lot of like going to events is very big for us. Like I travel to go to a lot of like gaming, tech, influencer, marketing related events and meeting these people in person because our industry is very relationship focused. At the end of the day, it's a brand working with a human being, an influencer at the end of the day, trying to talk to other human beings. It's all relationship in a kind of three-way dynamic. So the agency also has to be focused on creating a relationship. So the Netflix one, for example, was we actually cold emailed this VR experience they wanted to sign, who were doing a partnership with Netflix. Very good timing at the time, and then we kind of got in to do the influencer marketing for the VR experience. We pitched to them, and then Netflix got kind of brought into from that picture. We're actually now working with them again on a Stranger Things, the series is launching. So we're doing like another Stranger Things VR experience with Netflix and them at the moment. But a lot of it is just like nurture in my industry. So I see like a lot of these online videos which are like, you do your cold email, you get them on a one call close. It's so different. Like so most of our big clients we'll reach out to, we'll probably not get any business from them to begin with. We'll go through a very big nurture process of like sending them free value, inviting them to events, webinars, getting in touch with them when they're doing like their financial planning cycle, because these are like, we work with very like large brands, so like your Fortune 500 companies. It's not like reaching out to like a local gym or whatever who's like making decisions and small spends every so often. Like these guys are planning, the budgets that we work with are 6 figures, 7 figures, right? So they're having to plan like in certain time periods across the year when they're doing budget planning for a financial year. So it's like timing is very important. So like if the timing's not right at that point, we'll go through a big nurture process. One of our biggest client that spends the most money with us every year is a game publisher called Ubisoft, and they have like Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, like all their biggest games. I got in touch with them September 2023 initially. We then just kind of stayed in touch with them until April 2024 when it was their new financial year and they were planning new agencies. We got on their like radar, had some conversations. We didn't get our first bit of business with them until August 2024, so almost 11 months on.
Wow.
Now they're our biggest client. They spend millions with us a year, but that's just all because you have to go through that process. But it's valuable at the end of the day because the clients that we're trying to work with are obviously spending a lot more. But it's really events. LinkedIn is very big for us in terms of engagement and reaching out. LinkedIn, cold email, and then like inviting people to like webinars, lead magnets, free value. Referrals is very big for us as well, and then that ongoing nurture process with these brands.
I'm so glad you brought that up actually, because I went through sales training, and in that sales training they were like, one call closed, let's do it. But it depends on the industry you're in, very, very important.
Yeah.
So like with a local gym, for example, where you might be working with 50 clients and like a churn and burn type of thing, then the sales cycle, which is basically, from first touch point to close, like how long is that, is usually a lot shorter. But if you're just only working with like a select few people, but like millions of dollars in LTV, like, they spend a lot of money, then the sales cycle is usually a lot longer.
Yeah, the sales cycle is obviously dependent on their, potentially what they're obviously going to overall spend, and there's so many more decision makers at that size, especially when someone's committing, $1 million, there's so many different people it has to go through, so you've got to go through a pitching process with one person who then has to take it through to their boss, to then to decision maker, and like there's a lot more that goes into it. So I totally agree. It's like people who are starting online business, they see the videos online because that's all people talk about, but they don't put it in perspective of the different types of clients and even people coming in. So I have this influencer marketing program. People coming in with this warped perception of okay, so sir, are we just gonna like get on these calls with like these big brands and close them in the call? Like, that's never happening. Like it's a much longer sales cycle, but at the end of the day, like the values that you're gonna be receiving and doing these campaigns with are gonna be much bigger checks than your smaller retainers that you would sell in other areas and industries.
And that nurturing process that might take, for example, let's say with Ubisoft for like 11 months, was that like just sending emails of like, when you say free value,
like the follow-up procedure, always that?
Yeah, so generally our follow-up procedure, like we would, so say that Ubisoft told us like we'll do our financial planning in April, so we would like plan out what.
So you would note that?
So we would note that down our CRM, like we know this is like their time frame that they're going to be kind of wanting to have some discussions. So we would then, at that point, so our process would usually be, if we do a big bit of work that's relevant to them, like a big case study with a lot of good results. So, for example, if we did a big game publisher and we did a game launch, it was really successful, we would then send that to Ubisoft and basically like, we did this, here's some key highlights and examples, just so they kind of know that we're actively working in this space, we're doing valuable things. We then create like a lot of lead magnets. So we made like an Instagram whitelisting guide, how to master YouTube influencer marketing, how brands who don't do gaming can work with gaming creators, how brands can do affiliate influencer marketing, and we would then send relevant things at different timings based on like what's happening in the market to them that provide them free value. Sometimes as well, like if we see them doing a campaign or some competitor, we would then give them like a free well, this is what you guys did, this is what we think you could potentially improve for next time, or this is what a competitor did, this is how you could apply it to yourselves. So just like these little bits of free value, not even with the intent of trying to sell them anything at this point, just to show them that like, we know what we're talking about, we're actively doing this in the market, and that when you're ready for this conversation, we're a good potential partner.
And it shows you actually care.
And it shows you actually care because we're like putting that effort. So we would usually, depending on like how long like the potential nurture process would be, so we'd usually like reach out once a month or once every couple of months. If there's something that's a bit more timely, then we would do it more frequently. So if I just did a campaign today, but I've already reached out to Ubisoft 2 weeks ago, I'd still probably send them this because it's relevant to them, for example, or we'd invite them to events. So we sometimes host dinners. So like around these events, we'd get like 20 brand marketers in a room to kind of come together. We'd pay for the full dinner. They can kind of come just meet other marketers, because these marketers like to meet other people to gain strategies. So we'd invite them to these events to make these kind of like exclusive events as well, get to know them, because everyone people like to work with who they know and they trust. So having like these dinners, me and my team are there, kind of giving free value, getting to know them. They like feel like they gain to start to trust us and things like that. So those are the sort of strategies that we would use in that sort of process.
And that sort of like free value you guys were saying, that's all on email. You guys sent all that.
Yeah, we usually send that stuff on email generally. If for example, we get them on WhatsApp or Discord, I send them stuff like that. It would some of these bigger brands are, until you start working with them, are more want to stick on like email, but once you start working with them, we usually move to like Slack or Discord or whatever. But generally, when we haven't sold them anything, it's typically run on email.
Okay. So a couple of years into your business, say you started at 17, like 20 you started to get really like successful online money. You mentioned you became pretty arrogant with money.
Yeah.
Like the last tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it was like I've been definitely through like a couple of phases of things. I think it was I had this whole thing for a period of time, and I'm sure you guys have maybe fallen into the trap occasionally of see all these guys online and they're living this lifestyle, and it's like I started making money. I was like, is this what I have to do? Is this like how guys like that? Is this how guys like us act? Is this like how we're meant to be? And it was just kind of like, I see them doing all this cool stuff. I'm starting to think like it's kind of get the jealousy almost kicking in of like, why am I not doing this? Like a lot of it was Eman for sure. It was like Eman's a year older than me, and he's like doing these mad trips. And then I had one really successful friend who got into crypto, and he started exposing me to like bigger people with more money and their kind of lifestyle, and I'm like, I should start doing this type of stuff. And then I kind of started posting like cool stuff I was doing on Instagram, and then I started getting all this validation, right? You get this validation from people that honestly don't even matter. It was also a lot of like people from back in my hometown like thinking that I've made it and I'm cool, and it feels really good, and it like boosts your ego a bit. And then that kind of just fueled me to like go and start spending stupid money that shouldn't really have been spending, to be honest, like on travel and like renting supercars and flexing, going to the club like every week, and just literally targeted to post stuff on Instagram. It wasn't even like just like, oh, I'm gonna think to go here and enjoy it. It's like, oh, I've seen another guy do this type of content, so this is gonna look cool. That was pretty much like great examples that, oh, I see these, you know those, and this is super cringe now, I think back, you know those guys on Instagram who like, you know, in the club they'll have their watches and they pour the champagne on it. It's like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna go to the club just to do that. I never actually ended up doing that because I care too much about my watch. But it's like those types of things, or it's like these guys rented the supercar in Dubai and drove to Maiden Bridge, so I'm gonna go take pictures up there.
Everyone went to that, man.
It's like all of that type of stuff, and it was not even for like validation of people in my life. It was a bit. I think about it, was like trying to just validate myself to like people that didn't even really matter. So that was really detrimental to my business. I went through a couple of years where, you know, I got to the point, I think it was 20 when did our first million in revenue, and honestly I think for the next 2 years after that we grew, but not even that, we kind of plateaued. Like before we were growing like 100% every single year. At that point, like first we did $1 million, then we did like maybe 1.1, 1.2, like hardly growing because I was just traveling, spending this money, wasn't investing in the team. The team weren't really, they weren't working super hard because I was always about not kind of keeping an eye. And I think they had this perception as well of, oh, he's just out doing whatever he wants, you know, why are we just working so hard to fuel this life that he's posting on Instagram? I wasn't holding them to account to performance, wasn't holding myself to account to performance, and really just trying to live this lavish lifestyle to just flex on Instagram, and that was pretty much it. And then started treating people differently because, you know, I was sort of perceiving myself as, oh, I'm this young guy that's made all this money and I can live this life and these guys can't, so I'm better than these people, I'm going to talk to these guys and whatever. So and that life was like, I did that for like 2 years really, and I really don't know what it was that kind of got me out of that. I think there's a couple of different things. I think one piece of it was I started looking at the competitors in my industry who started at a similar time to me, and these are all older guys who really know how to build businesses and built businesses for a while, who had basically just lapped me at this point and grown their businesses significantly. And I started realizing, wow, like I basically missed out on getting to this size of company because I've been trying to go down this internet money guru lifestyle route. And also I think like I got my current girlfriend at that point as well, which I think is also a lot of these guys, you know, you do this like to flex to get girls and feel validated by women. So obviously I think having my girlfriend kind of grounded me back a little bit as well. And then also I think a part of it just made me realize like I'm actually so really fucking broke. Like right now, like cool, I can like travel and go to clubs and stuff, but I literally don't have enough money to be doing this significantly forever, to the point where like I can look after my family properly, I could have kids and come to me live, put them through good school, like buy a house. I'm still really fucking broke, but for the mindset of a 20-year-old, I was thinking at the time like I'm super rich because I'm making, you know, 10,000 a month, whatever it is. So I think a number of these things like all came at once. And then I brought in an advisor in September 2023 who previously sold his business for I think 37 million back in 2015, much older guy, who really helped me kind of like see the difference of building a business to just have a lifestyle vs building a business for a real scale and enterprise value, and show me all the things that I was doing wrong, and that basically if I was to like go down this path, I would never actually have a business that could be sold, could have this exit value. And then around September 2023, I was just like made the commitment to myself, right, I'm just gonna put this life behind me, just lock in and just focus. And literally all I did, and for 2 years, I went back to Scotland. Actually, went back to stay with my parents, stay with my parents for those 2 years, and just worked. And just literally locked in, worked to get the business to a position that it needed to be in, to actually have something of value, of scale, could work with good clients, had a senior leadership team in place, and was growing without me.
The lifestyle and enterprise value business and that difference, I would love for you to touch on that and what you learned from that advisor.
Yeah, it's so I always thought I could do both. Like I could have this lifestyle and also travel, all that, and then also build a business for scale. But building a business for enterprise value, I actually had to keep my profit as high as possible comparatively to when you're living a lifestyle business, you want to be paying as little tax, spending as much money in your lifestyle and keep your profit as low as possible. So there's two different things. One, running a lifestyle business, you want to have as lean an operation as possible, so you obviously make as much profit for yourself that you can then go and spend and live this life. Running a business for value, that doesn't matter as much, and actually my costs are significantly higher. To be honest, I probably made the same amount in profit, probably more, but like in comparative, like the profit margin was significantly higher in when I was running my lifestyle business, because I had like three or four people in my team, very low overhead, wasn't really paying them too much. They were like all part-time staff, and I was just spending all the business money myself. Now it's like my profit margin was like 20%, I think, comparative to before. It was like maybe double that, because I've got, you know, three people who are like management positions in my business, who, you know, one makes multiples, you know, like 6 figures a year in her salary, others, you know, high 5 figures, older people like 47-year-olds in the company who are actually building a structure. So the main differences I see are, to build a business for value vs business for lifestyles, you have to have a good management team. So essentially the idea is that if you want to sell your company, you want to be as away from the business as possible. And sure, when you're running a lifestyle business, you can, because you can automate a bunch of things and have VAs and whatever, but it's still not a business that can run without you. So you want to basically have people in place, so experienced people is one thing. What I found is that actually having a bigger business with more staff was seen as more valuable to the buying company than having a smaller business with fewer people that's just running this lifestyle direction. Systems, processes as well. And then also investing in things that you don't realize that are quite important. So having like a back office team, which what they call it, so like an HR and people function, like a full marketing function, a legal function, like these all like kind of back office elements and things are very important. And then having like a system where you can take clients and basically grow them. So like a client service function. So essentially a client that comes in, say they're paying you $5,000 a month to begin with, that you can then scale and retain your clients to start spending over time. Lifestyle business for me was very much just like small clients, just churn, lots of stuff just happening over and over. Now it's like much fewer clients, much more senior team that are focused on these clients and focused on growing these clients from 50k a month to 500k a month to whatever. And you just have to be more like on your numbers from a financial perspective as well. I spend a lot of time like looking at the strategy and looking at the numbers comparative to before, where for me it was more money in than money going out. Okay. Good. That was literally my strategy was literally more. I made more money this month than it went out. That's great. That's all I need right now. Here it's like you actually have to strategically like look at your financial modeling and budgeting. How much are you spending? What's the return on each of those items that are coming back? What is your salary cost comparative to the profit, to the margin that you're making in your business to then ultimately lead to your EBITDA? Are you investing in the right things that are actually going to lead to growth of the business? Are you making an investment now that is going to reduce your profit right now, but it's going to then pay back dividends in say 6 months time, so a more senior hire? So a lot of these more strategic things. And also back then when I was running the lifestyle business, as I say, I was trying to keep profit as low as possible. So I got all this money and then I was just spending it on my life. So the way that my type of business is valued, an agency is valued on a multiple of profit. So if I was reporting to the HMRC like 30k a year, I'm not making very much. So now it's like I had to pay a fuck ton of tax. I was paying a fuck ton of taxes now, but then I would get a multiple on the profit that I was making.
Okay, so the goal was always to sell the business. When you decided to pivot from lifestyle to enterprise?
Yeah, the goal's always been to sell the business.
Okay.
But I wasn't planning on doing it as early as I did right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I was planning on doing it probably around the age of 27. So I'm 24 right now. So I did about 3 years earlier than I was considering doing it. But the goal was always to sell it. When I pivoted into this more enterprise value business, it was not necessarily just to think about let's start trying to get the business ready to sell right now. It was just more to get past this phase of my life and really actually build something of impact and value. Because that's why when I first started, that's what it was all about. It was like trying to leave a legacy, build something of impact, build something that I could actually be very proud of. And in my eyes, building a business that lets me travel and spend money on cars and clubs and stuff is not that impressive to me. It's just doing stupid shit with a lot of money. It's not really financial responsibility.
I get it.
It was building something that can create jobs, can work with very cool influencers, work with very cool brands, very cool brands, be something that can actually be perceived as valuable in the market, as someone want to buy it, is well known, is reputable. That's what it was all about. So it wasn't really like at that point in September 22 I was like, I'm going to go sell my business now. I knew I wanted to do it at some point. It was the year after I actually started my exit process on September 26th, 2024. It was a year later when I was like, now is the time to do it. And it came from a few internal factors, but also a few market factors. So the best time to sell an influencer marketing agency was 2022. The next best time to sell an influencer marketing agency is this year, because the creator economy is in so much demand right now because of the growth that it's going through. And like by 2030, the influencer marketing industry is going to be worth 100 billion. Right now, it's worth 33 billion.
Would it then make sense to sell it later?
No. So the idea right now is that the businesses that want to buy, the companies right now want to get influencer in now so that they can capitalize on that growth. So they're paying premiums right now in terms of multiples.
It's like the AI thing happening at the moment. Buy now because it's
so
in 5 years.
So it's like that. So like there's like the market time is like you want to basically sell a bit before the peak. Basically, you don't want to sell before the peak, because then at that point it's like the buying company is almost like maxed out the value that they can get from your business. So right now is a very valuable time because they see the exponential growth curve. So they know that this type of business model is going to go over the next 3 years. So the multiples that my type of company are getting are at premium compared to other social media marketing businesses in terms of my size as well. So a great example is, I'm not allowed to disclose the exact figure of my exit because the buyer does, but we sold for multiple, mid-seven figures based on the profit we were doing. Another business that sold 3 years ago that I'm friends with the founder, he got a 27 times profit multiple. 27. You got paid 27 times.
Is that on an agency?
An agency. Yeah.
What?
And another business that sold was 30 times the amount of.
Is this with
and this is influencer agency. So that's what I'm saying. Wow. The best time to sell was then, because now the next best time is now. Multiples are nowhere near as good as then, but they're still very high, and that's the type of multiples that you get in the influencer space right now.
It's like a software.
Yeah, you're getting some crazy multiples. Like he was doing about £1 million in profit by then. Him and his business walked out with 27 million in their sales. And another agency that I know, they were doing like 30 million or so in profit or something like that at the time. And I think they ended up with they were doing 10 million or so in profit, and they ended up with 300 million between the three of them as their sales, right? So right now is a very good time because, as I say, a lot of these traditional performance marketing or digital marketing agencies that don't do influencer marketing, clients are demanding this and wanting to spend more and more. So if they're buying this into their service offering now, then they can basically ride this wave of growth. So 66 agencies in my space have been bought this year already. And that's quite a lot, in terms of acquisition compared to the previous years. So timing is very good right now. In terms of internal factors, it's I have to stay, most of these sales, as an agency, especially at my size of business, you've got to stay with the company for a bit. You're never going to walk out on the day. So I'm with the business for 18 months. It's anywhere usually you get between a year to 3 years. So some of these other agencies had 2-3 years. I know an agency, they're in for 5 years. So I'm in for about 18 months. And I can stay longer if I want to, but that's basically when I can make the decision of I can go or whatever. For me, it was I want to start a family in my late 20s, and I was thinking if I'm going to sell at 27 and then stay in for a couple of years, it might I kind of want to be in a position where I'll finish this business by 26ish. Then I can maybe think about what's my next business venture, what's planned for family. So that was the kind of reason of speeding up a little bit. Also, I'm fucking sick and tired of influencers at this point. I've been working with them for so long, and some of them are really difficult to deal with. I'm sure you guys know work with creators but especially when you work with the bigger creators and brands and sponsorship, they're very self-entitled, very slow, very annoying to work with, and it's not as simple as just going on Facebook, throwing 100k in meta ads and letting it run it. It's we got to deal with these people, and I've been doing this now for 10 years, and I love my business and I'm very happy. I'm building it for the next 18 months, but it's do I want to be doing this forever? It's not at all. I do want to get into SaaS or build some sort of software, maybe build an e-commerce product. It's always been an interest of mine to create something that's valuable to a consumer vs just making rich influencers richer and rich brands richer, which is what I currently do. So that was like kind of on my mind of, do I really want to be doing this into my late 20s? Plus also the final thing was, I've been building this business, obviously you two are, work together, co-founders. It's very lonely running a company solo, and I've kind of realized, like, at the end of the day, like, I've got senior people on my team, but all the responsibility falls down to me. Like, I don't have someone else that I can like discuss and come to a solution with, especially when the bad is the bad. And like being an entrepreneur, you guys know, this is a very lonely process. Not many people that do it. It requires a lot mentally to go through, and I've never had like been in an environment with like kind of other like co-founders or leadership around me. So I was kind of looking for something like that. So the business that I sold into is a bigger performance agency called Journey Further. They've got 200 people. They've got a very solid leadership team. It's the guy who bought me. The CEO's called Robin, but there's another co-founder and then also a chief business officer. And kind of like I joined that leadership team whilst I still run Solution, so I can kind of learn from them, have that like kind of support from a very experienced set of people for this next part of my journey, and also I'm going to learn a ton from these guys who are running a business that's doing 20 million a year, and that will help me understand how to run business at a much bigger level to then go into the next venture, because I do want to build something bigger as my long-term goal.
Okay, wow. I think I quickly just want to reverse and touch back on, you said you always knew that you wanted to build something of impact, right? And you were conflicted, you sort of got into that lifestyle, which I think many of us do in the online business space, right?
Burning through karma or something.
Yeah. And what do you think made you, like, do you think it was necessary to go through that, to have the contrast, to then realize, this is not what it's about? Maybe it is about something different, and then you deeper found the meaning, which could be the impact.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that I wanted to do something from Impact from day one, just because of the sort of illness sort of thing that I went through when I was younger. But I do think that if I hadn't gone through that that time of my life, I wouldn't have seen like such a calling towards it again. Whilst I regret like doing all that and spending all the money and doing this stupid stuff, it's like it was definitely needed to sort of give me that perspective of, this is not the right approach for my living. I'm not saying it's a bad approach. Some people might and for some people it pays them, right? The guys who create content around this stuff to specifically funnel into their products, they've got to live that life, because that's exactly what pays them. But it wasn't paying me. It had no additional value. But I think it gave me the perspective of, this is not the type of life that I want to live. I don't want to be this type of guy. I do want to create something of impact. I want to create something bigger. I want to create something of value. And also, I am quite a simple person that just likes to be with I actually quite like to be alone. I quite like to be with just the people that I'm with, and not too public. And I know that sounds quite contradictory to the fact that I told you my next goal is to start a personal brand. But not like this kind of super crazy, flashy, like surrounded by loads of people type of guy. But I think it did really like make me realize like these are the things that actually matter to me, and that I wanted to create an impact. And I kind of lost that on the way. I kind of lost it in the, I'm young and I want to be rich, on the way to what the deeper goal is of like, make a business that helps brands, helps creators put money in their pocket and monetize themselves, but also creates something very cool, creates very cool campaigns that people can be proud to have worked on. People can be proud to have worked for me in my business, like my team. Like, that's what really matters.
Yeah. I mean, this is the biggest compliment. I also see like you just have a black shirt on, like with a watch, like you're very minimalistic. I relate to that a lot.
I will say I do like my watches. I just wouldn't wear them in South Africa.
Fair enough.
I would wear a watch, but like in terms of like otherwise clothing, I'm very simple. Like all my shit I just buy from H&M and Zara. And like I think I've had this stuff for 3 years. Like I remember I bought it when I was going through my going traveling. I was like, I need to buy it summer. Literally not changed it. Watches is the one thing I do like, but I live in Lisbon now. So my girlfriend, she's here with me, but she went back and she basically took them to back home because I didn't really know about wearing stuff here. And but I'm not like I wouldn't like flex on Instagram or anything anymore. Like, when I bought it, I posted it on my close friends story of like just a achievement of I've achieved. But in the past, I'd be like trying to flex or whatever. But literally, I just wear quite plain, very chill stuff. I don't really.
What watches do you have? I need to know.
I've got a AP Royal Oak, got a Panda Daytona, got a GMT2 root beer,
Good.
got a Batgirl, a Cartier Santos, and then 2 Datjusts.
Yeah, you like your watches.
I do like watches, yeah. Like, but it was like they're like more of a. I think for me it's like they're a better thing to spend my money on, because when I'm buying them it's like I have this statement piece plus also holding the value, and it is like and every time I bought one it's been around the milestone. Like the two
I fully get it.
I bought the AP and I bought the Daytona after selling. It's like this is my gift to myself for these 7.5 years of like putting my like all into it. Before, like if I'd sold and I was at my old standpoint, I would have been fucking in the club and doing all the stupid shit, wasting all my money. I bought my root beer after we signed our biggest deal of last year. Bought my Datejust as my first watch. It's just like my kind of like it's like the first piece. So it's more like milestone things now for me. Like I don't really like to buy things just for the sake of buying like stupid stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do like them for sure.
I love that.
So I would like to take it back a bit. Obviously, you mentioned the illness you went through.
Yeah.
At 16, like I would like to know, at such a young age, obviously you started your business at 13, kind of getting some momentum. At 16, faced with this, like what was going through your mind at that stage?
Yeah, it was very weird because I was super unemotional about it to begin with, and I don't know what it was, because it's interesting. I've always been quite an emotional like kid. Like when I was younger, like I would feel quite emotive and emotional about stuff. But as soon as I got told the diagnosis, I remember it. Like I went to it's called the Beatson Cancer Centre in Glasgow, where I'm originally from. I went. There's a teenage cancer specialist in there in the room with this doctor, and my dad's a doctor, so he's kind of like reassuring me and whatever, and have this conversation, and they tell me like, you know, fortunately you've been diagnosed with stage 2A Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is the cancer I had, which is attacks like the lymphatic system in your body, and I genuinely felt no emotion to it at the time.
How old
I was 16, and I think it was almost like a state of like disbelief to begin with, of like, you know, in the past if I got told bad news, I'd be like in tears, like I'd be super upset, but it was like, I was kind of just, I don't think I processed it honestly at the time. Didn't feel any sort of way about it, no emotion, and like my dad's super upset. He's in the phone, you know, in the car home on the phone to my mum, like, you know, they're talking, my mum's crying on the phone, whatever. And again, when people cry, I also like kind of naturally like, you know, I used to feel that way, but nothing. I think it's just the shock and this disbelief. That same day though, I was in the shower and I think I heard my mum outside like crying on the phone to my grandma, and then I think it all hit me at the one time, and I like broke down in tears in the shower of just like this is reality, like I've got cancer. But it was a bit like the thing we were talking about before, like the money thing, like having this state of like this one time frame of like feeling this full emotion and then just back to normality. I didn't want to feel different, and I didn't want people to treat me differently. So I didn't tell anyone that I had cancer. I kept it tried to keep it as hidden as possible, just to try and act normal life. Because I didn't want to be this kid with cancer. Like you don't want to. It's like when you tell someone's got cancer, you see someone's got cancer, you start feeling sympathy for them, or you feel a certain way. You treat them differently. I didn't want to be like. I just wanted to be same old Suhit that, you know, was just getting on with life and whatever. So I told my 5 closest friends, and I told them, swore them to secrecy, like can't tell anyone. Like no one else knew other than like doctors and my close family. Like no one knew. Just kind of wanted to get on with normal, on with life. And at the beginning, in terms of like when it relating back to your question around business, I was still working this job at this company called ESL, and they were very, you know, fine with it. Like I was working part time. I was working on weekends. I was working around school, and you know I told them like I still feel fine to do this. I'm working online on my laptop. There's no real issues. I can still. So I still worked for them at the time. It was the cancer that gave me the shift to start Solarson, which I obviously own and sold to this day. Which was, I was kind of going through the process, just going through the motions, getting chemo once every 2 weeks, and it was that perspective shift in my life of maybe I could die from this situation. I was very lucky to be a cancer that had an 85% chance of curing first time. I'm young, so it was pretty much guaranteed I was going to be cured after just like rounds of chemotherapy. There's always that like little voice in your head of like, what if I'm at 15%? What if it's not going to be me? And I've been trying to do this online business thing for the last 3 years. Hadn't made any money from it, and I was like, if I want to do something with my life, and I might die, and as I say, I wanted to create an impact, build a legacy, I have to take the action now.
Wow.
Because otherwise, if I do die in the next year, in the next 5 years, it was a weird, kind of a cynical way of thinking about it. It's like, I'm not going to have achieved anything. It's like 17, you're not expected to achieve anything, right? But it was just in my brain of like, I've been ingrained as a very hard worker from young. Like, I'm Indian, so it's very like focused on like being the best, being very ambitious, working very hard. It's like being very ingrained to be like, I have to be something and make something of myself. So I left that job at ESL, they were totally fine with it, and I just decided, right, let me just start this business. Let's just see if we can make it work. It was used for two things at the time. It was one, to try and channel this ambition to be something bigger and be this entrepreneur and build some sort of legacy. It was also two, and arguably more important, was more of a distraction, to try and distract myself of the fact that I'm a cancer patient, I'm getting chemo, let me just continue what I'm doing, I'm going to build this normal life. So, I'm in the cancer ward, I'm building my website like with drag and drop tools and shit. I'm reaching out to my influencers that I worked with in my previous job and was like, I'm starting this management company, do you want to come work with me? This is what we're going to do. And just start like building it from there. Not really with too many expectations, to be honest. It was just like, let's just see if we can make it happen and make it work. And within the first 6 months, we did 100,000 GBP in revenue, which I think is times by 25 to get it in rand. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
It's something like
pounds,
pounds. I think it's times by 24 or something like that in rand. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, this actually could become something and was viable. And I passed my chemotherapy treatment at that point. I finished that up in September, and like by December I was kind of like recovered almost, in a sense. I wasn't fully recovered, there's still some effects of it, but I was like, at that point I was like, now I have this, I can just go and start trying to build this. So yeah, it was like it didn't really cause too much setback in terms of momentum for me, because I've just always been very ambitious. And I think that if you're in a bad situation, two ways you can take it. You can look at the bad situation and work out how can you turn this into a positive situation and take the positives. And a quote that I now live by is, every adversity comes with an equal or greater opportunity. So it's like, this is my adversity, what is the opportunity that God or whoever is trying to give me right now by putting this in my life? Or you can let it drop you and sink you and get into a bad way and start self-loathing and just thinking everything's not going well. But it's like, why would you want to be in that state?
You have to see it as an
why would you want to, you're in a bad situation already, why would you want to make it worse on yourself mentally? And I've never been someone that like thinks that way, so that the only option was to go the other way. And then that's kind of how I dealt with the situation and kind of still went on with building the business.
So high urgency is a very big part of the reason why you've been successful at such a young age. Like, you want to make something great out of your life, but you're not sure how long you have to live.
Urgency is like one of the biggest things with me, and it's actually interesting you mentioned, because I haven't really thought about it in that way of like, maybe it is a quality that comes from this kind of health experience of like, I need to make something in my life because I'm not going to be here. But urgency, I talk to my team all the time about we need more urgency in business, we need more urgency in what we're doing. Like every single like weekend that we leave that we haven't done something, we lose a week, whatever. And it's like, I'm all about urgency, because I think that speed is the most important thing in business. Like, you have to, especially in my space and the career economy, and you guys are in the same space, changes so rapidly. Like, things move so quickly. Like, new platforms up and come, algorithms change, new careers pop up, different ways of monetizing, new brands in the space, new agencies are coming. You have to be continually moving at speed, obviously without sacrificing quality, right? Quality is still super important, but urgency and speed. But I haven't ever thought about it in that way of like maybe bring it back to that experience is potentially the reason I've become so focused on urgency.
Wow, that was like, if you had to look at it that way, that was the positive that would come from that, right?
Yeah.
And then we also, like, with the event that happened and a possible attack on our YouTube event, like, I was like, okay, how is this the best thing ever? But at the time, we have no idea how it's going to be the best thing ever. You might think, okay, I'm going to work a bit harder, but in hindsight, then you're like, oh, like you just said right now, like in hindsight, oh, this might have been the thing that got me success so quickly.
Like it's exactly what you said. there's no benefit of believing in something that is detriment to your success, right? It's
Yeah.
like, why would I sit here and believe that this is terrible? Like, I have to see this as an opportunity, right? God or the universe is giving me something or lesson to learn and to pursue through this. And but it was very funny because the event did fail, and we're sitting there and we're like, how could this be the best thing ever? I'm like, I can't see this right now.
Not yet,
Just give me like
not
10
yet.
hours, let me just sleep, and then tomorrow we can take this back. And then yeah, we're still figuring it out, I guess. But like, you can only connect the dots looking back. Right?
Yeah.
I think Steve Jobs said that. And in the moment, I can't even imagine like what you were thinking, right? When you were 17, getting diagnosed with cancer. But now looking back, right, where you are right now, I don't know. I know of a handful of people that have ever sold their business, let alone doing that on 24 for multi-million. So yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, and it is like people. My girlfriend wasn't there when I had cancer. She always doesn't understand why I keep telling her like how grateful I am that I had it. She's like, why would you ever like wish that you had it? She like doesn't. She obviously doesn't like understand because she's not like me, but. It is really weird to say like I'm so thankful I had cancer. It's such a weird concept to think like why am I happy I got this sick? But it's like in hindsight it's the only way that I can see that. Like, I would not have had that urgency to take action, start the business. Like I would have probably trial and errored a few more things, worked for a couple of people, probably gone through whatever path. I just wouldn't have gone through that process, and I would not be here today without that. And again, you can't see it until you've gone through it. But I think like again, that's made me train the way that I think, and I guess you guys obviously say when I think that's one of the things that's how successful people do is that they will just understand that every down period will come with it. Life is cyclical. You have your down periods, but it will come with it a higher period. It's like, and you can't think of it right now, but when you're in that high period, you'll realize, and it's just making sure that you are self-aware of that, and you can go forward.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I was listening to this podcast from Gregor Gallagher. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No.
And he talked about like his father, and he said his father's always said this quote from Napoleon Hill. It's Napoleon Hill. I thought it was Napoleon Bonaparte. But anyway, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit.
Yeah, that's pretty much the exact quote that I said, but I've kind of paraphrased it, and it was Napoleon Hill. So he's got two quotes. I forget the other one, but there's two that are somewhat similar, but that's literally the exact quote. But I've just kind of paraphrased it a little bit.
Equal or greater benefit.
Equal or greater, benefit, opportunity. It's like, and you have to just like, again, you're not going to know it at that specific moment, but I think as long as you live with that open mindset that there is going to be something and we're going to find a way, then you're going to live a successful life.
I wrote an email just after, or like an essay just after the event failed, right? So like I'm like trying to get the shit out there, right? And so I wrote, your dream is worth suffering for. Like that was the title of the essay, right? And I wrote about just the entitled, like I think life despises a hypocrite, right? It despises a hypocrite. Anyone can desire to be successful and great, but it's not the desire that differentiates someone that is successful and someone who dies with their dreams, right? It's action. And I believe that life will give us failures, challenges, and all these things to essentially see if we're about that life, right?
Yeah.
You desire this thing, are you willing to suffer for it? And that is how you essentially separate yourself from people that don't make it.
It's like a filter.
It's just to suffer more than everybody else, and that's essentially what it is, right? So I want to ask you, I see on your Instagram, you posted the Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah.
Amazing, by the way, congratulations. And I saw a comment that really stuck with me. Someone commented, I remember you mentioned that you would be on Forbes 30 under 30. Fantastic to witness it happen. How does that make you feel? You somewhere down the line, I'm not sure who said this, but you told this guy, like, I'm gonna make this happen. I don't know how old you were when you said that, but you essentially saw it, like you didn't have it. You achieved it now. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll show you this. It's on my phone. I have this on my phone screen, which is all the things that
look at this, right?
Same thing.
It's like this. I made this 5 years ago, I think, which was just like all the things that I know I'm going to achieve in my life.
Was that from Sam Ovens' thing, or was it intuitive?
It was a friend of mine made his own. Like there's one of the guys actually commented on this he commented on this. I don't think he was the same.
Okay,
I was trying to think, is it the same friend who made this? And he sent me, and I was like, actually, this is a really cool way to think about it because
you pick up your phone so
because
much.
like you pick up my phone, it's the first thing I see is like I remember what I'm working towards and what I'm going to do. So Forbes 30 to 30 is like always been there. It's always been the top, and this was like a vision board. It's also for me, it's like these are things I know I'm going to achieve, and it's just again, it's like I can see them here, they just haven't happened yet, and I just need to work towards that.
It sounds like I'm speaking to Andrew. I'm telling you, like we're all exactly the same. It's so amazing to see. Wow, that's so cool. So you call that so Sam Robbins created this thing called Self-Transcendent Worksheet. Charlie Morgan used that, Iman used it, something very similar. We use something in our program, it's something similar, the Ideal Self Manifesto. Essentially, because most people just don't really know what they desire. They just don't know what they want, right? And so if you can just actually spend some time, think about what do you actually want and why do you want these things and where do your beliefs come from, and you crystallize that on a piece of paper and you put it on your phone, you read it before you go to bed, you read it the first thing you wake up, and it's almost like guaranteed after a year you will see tremendous progression towards this thing, just because you only have so much things that you can focus on in life. And I believe we all walk past like $1 million opportunities just because we didn't know that's actually what we wanted or what we desire.
I think it also, part of it is like you live with so much more intent in everything that you do, because you have the intent, like you know what you want, you have the intention that I'm going to go out and do these things, whereas if you're kind of just going through the motions of I want to be like, what does it actually mean?
I want to be successful.
What does it actually mean? What is the intent behind it? And then you can then kind of work the steps to how you're going to do that. And I think even less about working steps, just that inner clarity and belief. Like you believe and you know exactly what you're working towards. And I think just somewhere within you, it helps you get towards that. It's on the kind of question of the thing. I don't remember what it was that initially sparked me and wanted me to get on the list. I think I must have just seen it and I thought this is like a high like pinnacle list. But it was a very great feeling of the fact that like I've wanted and I believe that I can be like a valuable enough individual to get on this list, and I've kind of made that happen. It was less about the accolade. It was more about the fact that I've become an individual that can do this. And it's the same with the exit. It's like, yes, the money was fantastic, but now it's the passing of the fact that like I have been an individual that is competent enough and is capable enough to build a business that can sell, because then that proves to me that I can then go and achieve these other things. You know, I can start a business. It's that double effect. Like, okay, I can do this, which means that makes me an individual that then can actually go and achieve all these other things. Same sort of thing for the Forbes 30, but it is also a very cool full circle moment, because like I clearly told that guy at some point, I'm going to do this, and you know, and that just links me back to, and I was going to post about this on LinkedIn yesterday, but I never ended up doing it. It's about the YouTube thing. Like all my friends stopped doing it because people in our school were making fun of us and they didn't believe that they could do it. But I just had this belief that I could achieve it, and it's like such a nice full circle moment that has amounted into this, and it's become because of that belief in myself that I knew I could become that individual person to achieve this thing. And I think like loads of people stop in their journey because they lose that belief in themselves.
How did you know that you could do it? Like without any, because that's the thing, right? It's like if you start with any, like you started in the YouTube space, for example, you didn't have any subs like anybody else, right?
Yeah.
But yet you had a belief somewhere down the line with no results or fruits to show for it that no, like I can do this.
I think it boils down back to the way I was raised from my parents. Okay. Like they have always ingrained like, and for better or worse, like they were very strict when I was younger. Super chilled now and very different, but so very strict. Like in the appearance of like, you have to be the top achiever in your class. You have to do extra work and be number one. If you're not number one, it's and academically, it's not a good thing like in Indian households. And I think it was just like the ingrainment of the fact that I've now gained all these qualities of someone that works very hard, pushes themselves, becomes intellectual, becomes dominant in like academically in my field through these qualities that my parents ingrained in me. And my parents always did it because obviously they've come from India and Africa. Same. They've seen what it's like. They've worked incredibly hard to put this on the plate for me and my brother. We have to go and achieve that. And I think it's like, if they can do that, we can kind of do that. But I think it just comes from those like qualities ingrained in me from very young, that like I just have this belief of like, and it's like, and it's very weird. I was watching you know the Cars movie, the kids movie, the Cars movie.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched it on Halloween with my girlfriend. Instead of going out, we're like, fuck, watch the Cars movie. And someone and it's so weird because in the movie, someone asked him, was like, what made you think that you could? It was like, what made you think you could win your first race? And it's like, and the guy said, and it's actually quite profound for a kids movie. It's just like I never think I could. I never thought I couldn't. It's like just I never thought I couldn't do that guy. So why can't I? Like what's stopping me? Because I just never had this thought in my brain because of the way I was raised that I just couldn't be that person or just couldn't.
You never thought of it that way either. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just like flipping the other way, and it's like, and it's just so weird. I like clicked through watching the kids movie the other day, but it just made me think of like, I made me just think to my manager, I just never thought I couldn't do it. There's never a moment in my time where I was like, and things go bad all the time, of course, and of course sometimes you think, oh, can I not know this? But there was never like that really deep underlying that I couldn't see success in my life someday.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. Like it's very similar. It's like that goal is planted in your heart. It's like how it's impossible to fail.
Yeah, it's like how can I not do this because I've got so much conviction that I'm gonna do this. It's like how could I go through that without being able to see this and achieve it? And I think if you will find a way. And I don't know like what way the world works in that sense and how it comes, but just everyone that I know that thinks that way just finds a way.
That's true. Yeah. And on that, do you think anyone can become an entrepreneur?
I don't think so, because I think it I think it's very hard to train some of the skills of being an entrepreneur. Like entrepreneurship, you have to be someone that has a very high, like for example, I look at my mum or my dad or my girlfriend, for example, and all of them have very different qualities in some ways to me. Where super risk averse, super risk averse, and there's some people that I think some of these things you can't train because they're like natural qualities. Actually, I'll go back to that. I think you can if your environment from like set up from day one is trained in the correct way, right? Trained in the way of like, taking risks, being a high achiever, that ambition channel through you. I think you get to a point where it's actually too late to relearn these things. I think there's something about like it's much harder to mold and shape yourself as you grow older. Like from an adult, you obviously are wired in certain ways. And I think older people who haven't been wired in that certain way, it is very difficult, I think, to train yourself to become more risk-bearing or train yourself to think in certain ways or train yourself to be less emotional. I think if you've molded that as when you're younger, because those are the qualities you need. It's less about like building a business and learning how to run a company and whatever it is. I think it's actually the qualities, the harder piece to become an entrepreneur that are going to make you stick through it, and the active like resilience. And some people just don't have that in them. And I think you can be trained in that and molded that way as a young person. But I think if you're not, and then you don't have those qualities you're older, like there's some people that I've tried, like I've got a group of friends back home, like three closest friends from back home, and I've tried to like teach them like how to do business. I actually got them some into my programs and stuff before, and like, but they just don't have those like qualities of wanting to stick to doing something, or that resilience of some, shit didn't go well for one of them for a while and he just couldn't see a way out, like and it's so hard to like, even though I have those qualities and I can see it, to like get that into some people's brains. I think those people, unfortunately, I don't think they can become entrepreneur, because you need the qualities are arguably the harder things. So that's my take on it. Other people think that anyone can become an entrepreneur, and I think from a level of can anyone do something entrepreneurial to make money nowadays? Yes, because online space you can. But can you really call yourself an entrepreneur and go through the hardships of building a business and go through those what they call war times of being a CEO? I don't think so, because I think it requires a certain set of qualities to do so, which some people just don't possess and don't have the desire to possess as well, and that's fine. So
I agree.
I think it's called soft skills, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the soft skills.
Yeah, like the hard skills, the technical, that can be learned. but you can instantly recognize that soft skill in someone. It's like, okay, this guy's gonna make it. He's got nothing to show for it. It's like, I think it just comes down to like this crazy belief, resilience, just sticking through stuff, failures, getting back on it as quickly as possible, not wallowing in your sorrows. Is that kind of thing. It's like 80% mindset.
And some people's environments that they've gone through in the early stages don't allow them to see that path, because some people have gone through environments that they're not, that they're not exposed to this type of stuff. And then again, it's very hard to develop those soft skills later, in my opinion. So
like myself, like my parents were like just normal, no one in my family tree was entrepreneurial whatsoever. I was just exposed to it through YouTube and stuff, and the Instagram lifestyle. I'm like, damn, I want to do that as well. And that just
and I think that's why so many like younger males now are starting early, because it's the time where you can like develop those soft skills, because you're still very moldable. And I think that's why like young people online business become so popular, because it's like we see it and we instantly want it, because we know we can mold ourselves that way. But I think there is a certain point in life where it becomes too late if you don't have those skills.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think for me as well, looking back, like I was always a bit like more doubtful and fearful, but it never withheld me from taking action, because that environment that I was in, or that circumstance, etc. Because I was working sort of like a 9 to 5 straight out of. I dropped out a year in college, and I worked at a real estate firm. And the people, they were amazing, but there was something in me, like, you are meant for more. Like, this can't be my life, right? But I did struggle to take action and take that leap of faith. But there came a point where the suffering I experienced every day, just knowing that I'm meant for more, I can't die like this, was so much more than the potential risk, doubt and fear that I was experiencing, that I could take that leap, right? And so I think theologically also, like, I think some people are just born with a certain desire to just be, like, they're just conquerors, right? Like, I think theologically, like, if you look at Elon Musk, you'd probably be Genghis Khan, 700 years ago, right? Or some type of archetype like that, right? It's conquerors. They are absolutely ruthless, and I resonate a lot more with that type of person than majority of the people that I grew up with. Definitely part of my family. Also, my father has his own business. He's very entrepreneurial. Do you have a school community?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I see you met Alex Omosi.
Yeah.
Did you win a school game?
Yeah, we won the November one last year. So unfortunately, I actually can't grow it anymore because of so it's an influencer marketing coaching program, but because of my exit and non-compete, so I can't scale it right now. I can do it once I'm done with the business, but for the time being, so basically what it is that maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago, this kid from my high school reached out to me on LinkedIn and was like, Suhit, I see what you do. How do you do it? I want to learn from you. And he was a couple of years below me, and I knew him, and I was like, I like this guy. I was like, all right, I'll give you 15 minutes. We ended up speaking for an hour and a half. He got his business partner on, and I was like, telling him, like, this is what you should do, how you should start your business. And then they were like, they just took action. They started their influence marketing agency. They've become super successful now, actually, which is great for them. But they started then referring me other people, and were like, oh, this guy wants to learn and whatever. And I had a few of these people that I was like kind of helping just for free. And I started like this really like low ticket, like I think it was like £29 a month community with a friend, and I was like always eager to educate and learn, and I always wanted to use my like story of the trials and tribulations to impact and educate and teach and get other people inspired and young people. So when they started referring me to other people, I was like, this is becoming a bit too much to give like all this like one-to-one free stuff, especially when I'm trying to run my business. So I was like, all right, I'm going to turn this into an info product, and I turned it into basically a community-based program, which we used to run on just WhatsApp. It was just like a small WhatsApp group with guys. They also had access to like eight modules worth of content, so it was like 8 weeks essentially, calls with me, and then like a community aspect where they could kind of work together. And we just started growing that, and that's what my YouTube channel is, very niche specific of influencer marketing, how to start an influencer marketing agency, education around that. We then basically saw the school games and saw that kind of sort of way that was operating. So we were like, right, let's just we were like, let's start growing this now and move away from just using WhatsApp and move to school. So then we like just basically really went really hard on pushing it, promoting it, and then ended up getting 9th, I think, in the November last year's school games. So I think it was the one in LA that we went to, and it's just like, it was like so there was two that we ran. There was the entry level one where it's like a one-time fee, and then there was this more like ongoing. It was like I was almost more like a consulting business.
Okay.
Like we're consulting other influencer marketing agency owners because there's very little information and education or influencer marketing at the moment. There's loads about social media marketing, paid ads, SEO, all this, but influencer marketing was still relatively new as a concept of how do influencers partner with brands, how do you plan strategies, how do you actually drive conversions. So it was quite a good niche to tap into that people were also naturally wanting to learn more about. It's like SMA alternatives and this looks very cool because I get to work with the influencers I'm interested in. So yeah, we run that, grew the community, tried to keep it specifically quite small, but it was very high ticket. So like it's like $5,000 for the like one time, or then other guys were paying like $999 a month, like payment plans, and other people were doing so slightly smaller payment plans.
One-on-one like consulting calls with you? Or?
Yeah, so they'd have like one-on-one calls with myself so there was two options. So there was like the super higher ticket one, and then there was the kind of just one time. So the one-time one, they would get some one-on-one calls with me, then there would be a bunch of group calls, and then the community, and then the module, and then they have direct access to my WhatsApp, so like I'm voice noting, messaging them pretty much daily and giving them help. And then the other one was like, these guys would get more consulting and strategy focused calls with me, so like two calls a month, or 1 month we would go through like all the various strategic initiatives they should be going through to grow their influence marketing agency, and then another one that was more based on a very specific topic or action that they're going through in their time. So yeah, we have that. It's gone really well, like with the guys in the community. Every single person has at least broken even, which is great from like a community perspective, because some people go into communities and never make money. Our one guy has absolutely killed it. Like his agency last month, or in September, because it's now November, did $950,000 in revenue in a single month, and he's only been going for 2 years. Like it was crazy. Like I never thought that a guy could get to that size. He's got, his business is now, the revenue does multiple seven figures. I think it's about $2 million a year in revenue now. Like that was a standout month, and it might be more this year because of that month. Wow. And then we've got some guys who built, like the guys that are saying, who first reached out to me and said their business done really well. They've got a proper business now. They've got like 16 staff members full time, like in their business, running campaigns they've got Lululemon as a client, Huel as a client, like some pretty big names. So it's very cool to see. And, we have some guys as well, like I'm Indian, so I have naturally a lot of people that resonate to me from India. So we've had a couple of like Indian guys as well, third world backgrounds. One of them is, made multiple six figures in profit now, like coming from India. So it's very cool to just see how that has changed people's life from the knowledge that's in my head. So it's definitely something that I want to do more of. Like I can't specifically teach influencer marketing now because obviously it's competitive, but I think, I'm thinking about like with my personal brand, what other knowledge can I share that's maybe not so influencer marketing specific, but just maybe some of like the business fundamentals, the sales stuff that I could teach, or how to grow clients from 5K to 50K a month, whatever, some of these areas. So I think I'll definitely still do some more community-based and educational stuff right now, and then maybe pick up the influencer marketing stuff, post later in line, post when I'm done with the business.
Yeah, is that like, so let's say it's 2 years down the line, you're completely out of the business that you are in right now. What do you think does the future hold for you? Is that like, do you think you would pivot fully into the coaching maybe, like the info?
Yeah, I think to begin with, I'll probably, the idea right now is I want to spend the next 18 months just building the Suhit Amin personal brand in a way that it's not just like people are bought into me, my journey, my vision, my knowledge, and I can like sell different things off the back of it. So I'll try to monetize that in some way. Probably in some sort of info or community. I don't necessarily know if I would do like course, but I might do more like, because I've kind of been a founder that's gone through and exited, a bit more like consulting basis. The guy that I told you that sold for like 27 million, he does like a very high ticket consulting for like guys who are trying to sell their business. So maybe something in that.
Someone like that.
Yeah,
that's very
maybe in that direction,
yeah,
because obviously you can charge a lot for that because those guys are making a lot, and it's a very high value. Like the end goal result for these guys is huge, right? So he's charging like 5K a month packages, 10K a month packages, like or a bigger mastermind. So maybe something that's for maybe slightly bigger experienced agency owners that maybe want to get to that multi 7-figure exit. Like I could never teach someone how to sell for 8 figures because I haven't done that. But like those guys who are, doing, multiple 6 figures in profit a year and want to get to that exit stage. So that's what I'll probably do for a bit. Whilst I just like kind of because a bit builds my like family and do some of that stuff. My long-term vision and goals is like I want to do something of bigger scale, like a company that's has and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this sale. Learn how to run a proper company with offices with 200 people. That is maybe taking investment that's doing much bigger scale. So probably something in like software, maybe a physical product company. Not entirely sure, but really how I see it is that I've got a marketing agency and I want to use the skills that we do for clients to build my own thing. So it's kind of, so that I've not worked it out yet. So really this next 18 months is build personal brands, work out what that big thing is going to be next. Most obviously just managing and investing my money, and then also trying to monetize my personal brand and build some community or info stuff off of it. I've hired a guy just at the start of this week who's built like a few like personal brands for some people to kind of help me with how we start growing that and how we monetize it and whatnot. So yeah, that's the plan at the moment.
Definitely a constant in your journey is not necessarily knowing exactly what you're going to do, but just following your interest and then putting one foot forward in front of the other. And like opportunities, you're like, okay, let's try this, maybe not, and you just kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And most people get paralyzed in the beginning. They're like, I don't know how I'm gonna sell this company. Like, just start signing some
if you don't have movement, like you can't start thinking till the end goal and like, well, you can, but like you don't really know what the end goal is gonna be because things change so quickly. Like until you actually have some movement, some motion, like you need to be thinking like everyone thinks. You have your big goal, but you need to obviously break it down. And interestingly, one of the guys in my community that I have who's done pretty well, like a lot of the new guys that come in, he's quite a good spokesperson for them. Like he says the same, they all start overcomplicating and thinking about the bigger things too much. It's like literally just start getting some brands in. That's the first step. We need to like start moving toward and get motion. Then let's work the next step. You have to just get the movement in, because otherwise it's just going to be like paralyzed by the situation of thinking about what it's going to be but not actually doing anything towards it. Like the best way to find out is just move on with things. And you can pivot. Like I say, I've run this business now where to the point where I know I can be successful, so I'm just gonna move and I can pivot, and I have more resources behind me. I've got more knowledge behind me. I know how the market works. I'll be able to do that, and I've got 18 months to figure it out. So good time.
It seems like fun, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good place to wrap it up. This was really fun.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. It was good. Good conversation.
Really fun. I think it was extremely valuable to the people watching. Where can everybody find you? Where do you want to link your?
Yeah, I mean,
we'll link everything down in the description.
I guess the best place from like business places are always YouTube, because I upload content weekly. Just now I'm doing more like kind of productivity and like mindset related stuff of like how I've built like my structure to get to where I am at. VS influencer marketing stuff is a main focus. So YouTube, Suhit, Amin, LinkedIn is I post pretty much daily because that's very big for our business, and then Instagram I'm going to be building a lot more as well. But everything is just luckily Suhit Amin on every platform. My name is quite uncommon. So you should just search it up and you'll find me.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
And that was amazing,
Awesome.
man.
Thank you very much.
I
That was good
enjoyed
fun.
that so much.
I enjoyed it a lot.